All right, welcome back to the new SEC podcast. I'm Hunter Ziesman doing a special episode here. We have a guest, Matt Muddiman. Glad to have him here to talk an exciting topic. We got 9 games this weekend. So when you're cutting from 60 games a weekend to 9, it's really important that you get dialed in. So what we want to do is give you the 5 best bets this weekend. Matt put a lot of effort into picking out the ones that are going to be best. So we want to talk those. Matt, before we get into it, 6 of the 9 matchups this weekend are rematches of games that already happened this season. So when you're kind of evaluating these, how does that factor in, like, especially from the gambling side when they're rematches?
Yeah, first off, thanks, Hunter. Appreciate you for having me on. Really excited about this. Love college football. Watch a lot of it. Pretty much breathe and live it. So it's been great. Really fun year we've had so far, and looking forward to this big weekend. To answer your question, I mean, a lot goes into these big conference games. It's much harder to bet on these games than, say week 1 or 2 or 3 and so on. You'd like to see what, Vegas sets the line at. That tells a lot. A lot of people think, hey, this is a rematch. The same thing's going to happen twice. So-and-so team beat the other team by 20 and it's going to happen again. Well, a lot of it comes down to coaching and adjustments. Maybe they don't see a matchup they like until the fourth quarter, whether that's the QB or offensive coordinator, and they start exploiting that. So you really want to dive into those later parts of the game to see what kind of adjustments are being made, and then again see what kind of coaching styles they play with and like to see on the other side of the ball.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, and especially from the adjustment side, like we saw a tale of 2 halves in the Alabama-Georgia one earlier in the season. Like, they're 2 completely different teams now. Like the Miami-Ohio, the MAC championship is featuring a completely different quarterback than the last time they played. So there's some different things there. I think the Duke one is the closest. That happened just 2 weeks ago, and now they're playing. Virginia has a chance to be a 5-loss ACC champion, which is pretty crazy. If they win, they'd probably miss the playoffs. We just saw the CFP rankings come out tonight, but we'll get into it. 5 best bets. First one here, Big 12 championship game. What are we looking at?
Yeah, BYU comes in looking for revenge. They went into Lubbock and they got beat pretty good. They lost 29-7, and that was again only a few weeks ago. But there's a lot of things that happened there. Missed field goal, couple turnovers on BYU, a couple turnover on downs. So Texas Tech, they started out hot. They came out, I think they were up a couple scores early, and they really were able to play conservative. That really allowed them to just set it on cruise control. And I think BYU is going to make some adjustments here, like we're talking about. They're going to have a win or go home type mentality, because for them, this is it. They really do. They're not going to make the college football playoff, in my opinion, if they lose this game. And Texas Tech, on the other hand, they kind of feel pretty safe. So we'll see how quickly BYU comes out. But I don't foresee BYU letting their foot off the pedal here. One thing that really came up to mind when I was going back and looking at this game and watching it a bit, Texas Tech actually had a season high 5 field goals, which with Morton in that offense is very unlike them. They when they get in the red zone or anywhere close, they score touchdowns. So again, I think BYU makes some adjustments to offensive side of the ball. They take some risks. And that's going to lead to a higher scoring game. I do think BYU keeps this game close, but what I really like here is the team total for Texas Tech, 31. I really think that they're going to be able to put the ball in the end zone a couple more times here. Again, they had 29 points last time they met. I think 31 is very achievable, considering every time Morton stepped on the field outside of this one, he scored over 31.
Yeah, at 34 every time he's played at this season. I think the only game they haven't been able to put up 31 is the one game here against BYU, and then when they played Arizona State when he was out. It's about short field, I guess, for Texas Tech and how they've been able to score so much, especially lately. Their defense is playing so solid. They're first in the nation offensively in starting field position. They only need 63 yards to score on average. That's great. We know what the Texas Tech defense can do. They're on a mission. Like, They win here, they get a bye, they're on a mission. I do think that BYU keeps it closer now that they got Sataki probably staying at BYU as head coach from what the reports are saying. Texas Tech team total over 31. Lock it in. I like that one. I think that that's one of the few games this weekend that gets a little bit more high scoring, kind of traditional Big 12 football.
Agreed.
Under on a game. I think we're looking maybe at some unders. We got the MAC game. We mentioned it earlier. A little bit of this is another one, rematch. We got Miami, Ohio, Western Michigan. Last matchup, 43 points scored. Miami, Ohio winning that game. It's a little different. DeQuan Finn was playing. When you're looking at the MAC championship here, what are you taking in this one as our second one here?
Yeah, so I really like the under on this one. And, that's not going to be a fan favorite. It's going to be, the MAC championship is probably, in my opinion, going to be one of the least bet games of this weekend. But those are some of the games that you can find value. And for these two teams out of the MAC, it's their Super Bowl. So I really do think, watching some of these MAC games throughout the year from Miami, Ohio, and Western Michigan, this is just simply too many points. You have a Western Michigan team that really only allows about 18 points per game, and they love to chew the clock. They're averaging just under 200 yards a game on the ground themselves. And then you pair that with a Miami, Ohio team that is top 50 in the country themselves and averaging around 22. I really don't think that these two teams are going to want to take shots down the field or make that mistake to lose this game. It's going to be a tight one. They're not going to want to make calls some mistakes, and it's going to be a game of field position. Under 43 and a half is the way to go here. Yeah,
and looking at the offenses, I think you're spot on with that one for sure. I mean, the defenses for these two teams as well, they're getting pressure on quarterbacks. I mentioned this when we previewed all 9 of these games that we talk about Oklahoma, we talk about Texas A&M as being able to get pressure on quarterbacks. Miami, Ohio, 3rd in sacks per game. They put pressure on quarterbacks. We know what that does. I mean, it makes it more difficult to move the ball effectively, as the obvious answer there. Shots downfield, Gotkowski, the 3rd string quarterback playing for Miami, Ohio. He was airing it out a little bit last week against Ball State. I don't think that happens here. I don't think you'll be able to play that game against the Western Michigan team. It fit the Buffalo game. It fit the Western or the Ball State game a little bit better. I think this could be a defensive matchup for sure in the MAC. So under 43 and a half. Lock that one in. We got 2. I think these are 2 for 2. I think these definitely are your best ones. Last 3 are Power 4 ball. A big one, a really big one. I think before the CFP rankings came out, this was kind of looking at if Alabama doesn't win the SEC championship, they might be at risk of being out of the college football playoffs. Now it's looking a little bit better now that they moved to the number 9 spot. This is another rematch, Alabama, Georgia. We saw what happened in Athens this year. What are you looking at in this game?
Yeah, ton of history here. Both teams, they love to battle. Alabama has had the edge as of recent history, but I will say the way this Georgia offense is starting to click it's really getting scary. I think it's a hot team that's coming in, and to them, they want this SEC championship. They're tired of hearing about how they've lost this game too many times, whether it's either at home or their second home in Georgia, in Atlanta. So, I think both these teams, it really comes down to getting the ball in the end zone first time, second time, third time possession, because whoever wins this game is going to probably be winning by halftime. And we've seen that recently in recent history, I should say. And you know what? This game means a lot to not only Alabama trying to make the playoff, but I think whoever wins this game is going to get that first round bye. So again, I think whoever leads this game in the first quarter and a half is probably going to win this ball game and try and then slow down the ball, run the ball down someone's throat, and try and win this game in the second half just by controlling possession. So what I really like here is that first half over 23. We've seen it hit most recently when they played earlier this season. We cannot see another Alabama team rely on the run game like they have recently because it just hasn't fared them well at all.
Yeah, it hasn't. And we saw the first time that they played, even though Georgia was opting to keep the ball on the ground, they were getting some chunk plays on the ground. That was how how they built their drive. So it wasn't like they were really burning clock. Second half, we saw like defensive adjustments take control. I mean, hardly any scoring in the second half. Now, like we look at Georgia, the pressure that they're getting on quarterbacks, and like it's been something that I critiqued. I got some heat in our SEC championship video for critiquing Georgia's earlier season struggles on getting pressure. They're getting it now, but I went back, watched the Texas game again, and saw what packages they were bringing. A lot of their, blitz packages are sending 5, they're sending 6. It's a opportunity for a bigger play to break out. High risk, high reward. It's a gamble. Ty Simpson, if he makes those checks at the line, we've seen him do it. It's hurt the play clock. It's hurt the timeouts a few times here and there because he likes to make those adjustments at the line. There could be some opportunity for some good run after catch plays for Alabama. I like the over 23.5 too. I really do. Fourth one, I think this is the one that people will find the most interesting listening, because it almost seems like maybe a gimme in the other direction. I know you mentioned that when we were talking beforehand. We got the ACC championship. Duke, Virginia.
Yeah, this is an interesting one, Hunter. A rematch from November 15th. You got a team that was down 31-3 going into the fourth quarter, being Duke, the Blue Devils. And I'll tell you what, looking at this line coming out from Vegas at 2.5, that's where it started. The Cavaliers favored at 2.5. It was very, very interesting. I started digging into this, looking at this a little bit closer, because I really believe when you have a line like that, they're begging the public to go ahead and take that 2.5. It's now all the way at 3.5, where I do see some value. You got a team that I think Manny Diaz is going to have prepared. He's a well-rounded coach. He comes from the defensive side of the ball. I don't think the Cavaliers are very strong on that side of the ball. A lot of talk has been about their defense, and they proved that. They really shut down that Blue Devil offense. Darian Mensah, he really struggled all the way up until that fourth quarter, but he did find something clicking there in the fourth quarter. It was definitely his worst game of the year, but I think he's going to come out, he's going to make the adjustments with Manny Diaz at the helm, and he's going to go ahead and keep this game as close as possible. They are playing to play spoiler, and I really think that they can do that. Whether it's win or lose by 3, I like them at 3.5.
Yeah, I like them too, and it's an interesting one. Talking about Manny Diaz when we previewed this game, we talked a little bit about that, in his time at Miami and Penn State, really building strong defenses, and it didn't really come to play in this game or many this year. They've been kind of opting for a more shootout style. Mensah just couldn't get hot early. It came from some Virginia pressure. They were able to get pressure on him early, make it unmanageable second and thirds to where Duke couldn't really play their game. As long as they don't come out cold, like if they come out and start the game hot, I think that they can hang toe to toe. I think they just got down too early in the last matchup. They were able to get 2 turnovers off of Chandler Morris, 2 picks, the one that they took to the house. The other one just resulted in a punt. I think depending on how Duke takes the defensive pressure in this game and how they get off, the line is what they do here. I mean, it's a big opportunity for them to be in the ACC championship, to win some of those tiebreakers. So I think, they're trying to play spoiler, and like you said, it's plus 3.5. They don't have to win the game. Just got to keep it close. We got a slate of 5. So the final one is the Big Ten championship, the number 1, the number 2 team, Ohio State, Indiana. This one's not a rematch. They have not played yet this year. They have, a couple common opponents, but looking at these 2 teams, what do you like in this one?
Yeah, again, we're going to go with another under here, under 48. And like you said, Hunter, very highly anticipated game of the weekend. Number 1 meets number 2 in a neutral site, which is very interesting. I think, you got 2 Heisman candidates in Sayin and Mendoza, and all they can think about is not making that mistake. Now, not only do they not want to make the mistake, they both know in the back of their heads they're playing arguably the number 1 and number 2 best defenses in the country. And Ohio State's going to go after Mendoza. They're going to put pressure. They're going to make him get the ball out early, and they're going to make him uncomfortable. And in Indiana, on the other side, on their defensive side of the ball, they're going to make Sayin keep everything in front of him. They're not going to let him beat him over the top. Both teams are safely in the playoff. And, it's really a matter of how much do you want to show the other team or the rest of the country. You got to stay healthy. You got to do what you need to do. But Ohio State, I'll tell you what, watching them throughout the year, the one thing that keeps coming up, they played 3 top 25 teams this year, okay? And each one of those games, the game has gone under. They love to slow down this game and keep it defensive. And I really think that under 48 is the play here.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that they get quarterbacks off of their game a little bit. That the nickel defense that they play, showing sometimes traditional 4-2-5, but then they'll bring 5 to 6 guys down the line because they have so much athleticism from Caleb Downs, from Styles, from McLean being a little bit deeper there. They're able to challenge quarterbacks. Mendoza, a great quarterback, but it's going to be a tougher game for him to be able to air it out, to have some of those Heisman performances. Ohio State allowing 8.5 points per game. It's the best in the nation. They're the only team in single digits. And I got some criticism for saying this, but Indiana's schedule to date, as of the past month and a half, I don't think it's necessarily prepared them for this game. It's almost like playing out of a bye could be bad for some teams. It's like you haven't played a caliber of Ohio State since the Oregon game. You played 6 weeks in a row of teams that don't have a winning record, and now you want to come in here, you could be caught a little bit cold-footed, like not really having that experience, whereas Ohio State just played a huge game last week with Michigan. So I can see that.
Listen, I think Indiana is going to struggle with the Ohio State playmakers. They have not seen this type of talent. There's these 5-star guys, whether they're freshmen or juniors, they've not seen anything like this. Indiana's usually, they're used to bullying people. They can't even do that with Ohio State. I mean, their offensive defensive line matches up toe-to-toe with Indiana. Like I said, 48 is probably too much here. But again, both teams, they want to go ahead and get into the playoff at this point.
Yeah, there's no real loss here. The only loser of this game will probably be they'll either get a bye as well, depending on how the rest of the country goes, or they'll just be hosting a home game, which is, good for the school. Sometimes teams don't want that bye because it's like you get cold. It's a good spot to be in, to play a home game, keep the legs fresh so you don't go 4 weeks without playing a game.
Yeah, we've seen that in the past. There's arguments for both sides. You keep the hot hand or you try and get healthy. But, sometimes, like you said, it's a negative thing to have that first round bye.
Yeah. So we got 5 picks here. So, Texas Tech team total over 31. We got the under 43.5 on the Miami, Ohio, Western Michigan MAC championship. Alabama, Georgia first half over 23. Duke plus 3.5 and under 48 on Ohio State, Indiana. Good weekend of football. I mean, these are all Saturday games. We have some more on Friday night. I'll be watching the Jack State game. I want to see what Cam Cook does in that one. The Boise State UNLV one is going to be a rematch as well. Any other, betting aside, any big games this weekend you're looking forward to, or you think have a big impact, I guess, on the college football landscape?
Well, I'm really interested to see how North Texas does. There's been a lot of talk around that team, and Tulane's going to be a tough test for them. But, all I've been hearing, and, I've seen it myself, is that high-powered offense of North Texas. So, as you can say with some of these smaller schools, they have not been tested thus far. I think Tulane's going to be a really nice test for them, and we'll see how they fare with them.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Caleb Hawkins, especially for North Texas, against Tulane. Whoever wins this game is going to be in the playoffs. I think either one. And then, you got JMU as well this weekend fighting for a spot too, hoping that Duke wins.
Yeah, and that'll be a big game for them. We'll see what Duke is able to pull out because I do think James Madison is they're a good squad. I think they could fare well, probably a little bit better than some of these other teams against some of the top 6 to 8 teams in the country. So we'll see. It should be a fun weekend. I'm excited about it. Conference weekend's always exciting. We obviously have the Lane Kiffin drama and everything else going on with other coaches. So it'll be interesting. I'm excited about it. And good luck to everyone. Please bet responsibly as always.
Drop in the comments what you think, if you're taking these, if you like maybe the other side, or if there's another, one in here. We have a lot of team totals, over unders here, as opposed to just taking the line. So let us know what you think. We love to hear from you all. Hit the like button, subscribe button, so you don't miss more content like this from us. And hopefully we're making some money here. I'm Hunter Ziesman, new SEC podcast. Excited to have special guest Matt here talking about these bets. And until next time.